In the 19th century Arab slave trade, Tippu Tip, or Hamad bin Muhammad, was a symbol of brutality. An explorer and slave owner, his reign deeply impacted the African continent. Tippu Tip oversaw a brutal slave trade regime that preyed on the weaknesses of numerous African communities while operating in an enormous area that spanned from the modern-day Congo to the Indian Ocean. He created a vast network of trading posts where he acquired ivory, priceless items, and most terrifyingly, human lives due to his insatiable greed for wealth and power. The history of Tippu Tip is inscribed in tales of horrible agony as captured people were forced to march to far-off markets while being exposed to unspeakable horrors. A chilling story that compels us to confront the depths of human depravity and the enduring wounds it has left on Africa's collective memory emerges as we learn more about Tippu Tip's slave trading regime. This investigation serves as a melancholy reminder of the atrocities perpetuated against generations of innocent people and the need to recognize and draw lessons from this terrible past. The brutal slave trade regime of Tippu Tip highlights the brutality of historic figures. The moniker Tippu Tip evokes fear among them. How could one individual cause so much suffering? Enter the dark past of Tippu Tip's cruel slave trade dictatorship. What led him to obtain tremendous money and power by trading lives? What strategies did he use to rule huge territories? And how does Tippu Tip's legacy force us to face our deepest past? In 1837, a figure known as Tippu Tip, born Hamad bin Muhammad el Mirajabi, emerged from Zanzibar's murky past. He rose to prominence in East Africa's ivory and slave trades and became notorious for his ruthlessness. His goals were portrayed negatively by his legacy of exploitation and human suffering. Tippu Tip became an indomitable force in the business sector thanks to his keen insight into local dynamics and his extensive network of contacts. His exploits were characterized by the collection of ivory and the sale of slaves, both of which resulted in enormous fortunes but also left a legacy of destruction. Tippu Tip had a significant impact on regional history despite his terrible reputation. He successfully navigated the tumultuous social and political climate of the moment, forever altering the narrative of East Africa's engagement with the wider world. He got his name from not only one but two different places, each of which contributed in its own way to the formation of his distinctive nickname. The first source was his uneasy habit of blinking his eyelids, which appeared to be a permanent companion during times of high stress or intense concentration. This peculiarity earned him the title among his contemporaries, and it stuck like a label that was made for him. The second factor that contributed to the formation of his nickname was one that was more obvious but nonetheless formative. He was fascinated to the point of veneration by the sound of gunshots, which was a mystery to him as to why he was so drawn to it. It didn't matter if it was the repetitive pop of a firing range or the far-off echoes of celebratory rounds. His attention would always be captivated and his interest would be piqued. It was this particular connection between his engaging eyelid twitches and the compelling percussion of gunfire that confirmed his memorable and quite cryptic nickname, generating a lasting impression that easily merged both of his eccentricities. It was this connection that solidified his memorable and rather enigmatic nickname. Tippu Tip, a notable figure from the latter half of the 19th century, was able to exert a substantial amount of influence over the Upper Congo region as a result of his amazing leadership and expeditions. Originating from the Zanzibar, he made a name for himself as a powerful merchant, especially in the ivory industry, as well as an entrepreneur. Tippu Tip was able to exert control over wide portions of the Congo basin because of his expertise in negotiating the intricate network of trade routes and his skill in forging alliances with the local people. This enabled him to amass wealth and power. Both ruthlessness and ambition characterized his journeys deep into the heart of the Congo basin. Tippu Tip's armed caravans, which consisted of both competent soldiers and keen traders, were a major factor in his ability to exert supremacy in the region and cemented his presence there. In addition to his smart marriages into powerful local families, his dominance over the ivory trade was another factor that contributed to his consolidation of power. His legacy as a savvy trader and pivotal figure in the exploration of the Congo basin survives. leaving an indelible effect on the history of the African continent, despite the fact that Tippu Tip's prominence eventually declined due to shifting political dynamics and the ambitions of European colonial powers. He was instrumental in ensuring the safety of well-known explorers like John Speke and David Livingstone on their perilous expeditions. His help was crucial to the accomplishment of their exploratory goals, and his efforts were a major factor in the achievement of their objectives. He helped these fearless explorers succeed in uncharted places by providing them with supplies, logistics, and strategic direction. His tireless commitment to travel and discovery made him a beloved supporter of the likes of Speke and Livingstone, who relied on him for crucial assistance. They were able to record novel geographical insights, discover the secrets of faraway regions, and increase humanity's knowledge of geography and culture with his help. His achievements live on as a tribute to the unsung heroes whose work shaped the history of exploration and pushed the boundaries of human understanding. During the 19th century, Tippu Tip, a prominent figure in the history of East Africa, built an influential independent government that spread across a variety of economic sectors, including the trade in ivory and slaves. His participation in the caravan trade that went around the coast was a significant factor that contributed to his rise to power in the area. Tippu Tip was able to amass a substantial amount of power over the lucrative ivory trade thanks to his keen business sense and extensive network of connections. As a result, he amassed both wealth and influence. Because Tippu Tip controlled the caravan routes that went around Lake Tanganyika, he was able to expedite the passage of commodities and prisoners, which resulted in him accumulating a significant amount of riches and authorities. His operators were crucial in reshaping the economic environment of the region during that time period, playing a pivotal role in doing so. While it is true that he was successful in business, the fact that he made money off of other people's misery through his role in the slave trade is a shady part of his legacy that should not be overlooked. His achievements in business are recognized. In collaboration with Henry Morton Stanley, he set out on a daring journey into the heart of the rainforest. He was motivated by his insatiable ambition to grow his empire and acquire valuable ivory resources. The two of them working together presented an opportunity to expand their sphere of influence into unexplored lands while also increasing their financial security. Both of these men were fully committed to overcoming the huge obstacle presented by the thick and mysterious rainforest, with all of its concealed perils and unidentified occupants. Their well-equipped expedition's primary goal was to obtain ivory, but they also wanted to assert their control in the area so that they could further etch their name into history. As they progressed further into the verdant wilderness, not only did they have to contend with the severity of the natural environment, but also with the complexities of the interpersonal relationships among them and the ever-present possibility of encountering unanticipated challenges. In an era when there were many undiscovered territories, the partnership between these two ambitious figures exemplified both the allure of discovery as well as the quest for power. Tippu Tip, a major figure in East African history, left behind a legacy marked by his involvement in the brutal ivory and slave trade, as well as a collection of vast wealth. His commercial skill was well known, and he became very wealthy as a result of his many trade and investment endeavors, not just those involving ivory. Tippu Tip was not only influential in business but also in the establishment of a strong state machinery, which he used to rule over a vast territory and subjugate countless communities. The terrible ivory and slave trade in which he participated caused incalculable agony for countless people and tainted his reputation. The complexity of historical people who left a lasting influence on the African continent is reflected in his diverse legacy, which included economic issues, political savvy, and a sinister link with the slave trade. Thanks for watching. For more, kindly subscribe to our channel.